I wanting to show everybody this right off the bat.
Oh,
This
Jesus.
is, anybody remember Frankie? You remember Frankie, right?
I
Erica?
remember.
Yeah.
I think Frankie's
Um,
on the call. Frankie's here.
Yeah,
oh, she
Frankie's
is?
here.
Well, Frankie didn't make this. I did. She just carved her name in it. No, it's a
Beautiful work.
beautiful little mug that Frankie's been making. Um, a lot of really cool stuff in her home studio, and weirdly, she not weirdly, but really cool, she got a hold of me, and I offered to fire some of her stuff, and I fired a little bit of her stuff, both bis fired stuff and glazed stuff, and I just wanted to show this off for Frankie because she's really been continuing making really neat ceramic work, and it's been really fun, kind of being social with her at a distance, dropping stuff off, and it's been really fun, and I've really appreciated um, that. But I wanted to show everybody my art studio and kind of talk about it. Um, I moved my pottery operation here in the maybe last year, last spring, and I was working in the basement of my house, and that's where I still do my tile work. Um, but there's also a bunch of stuff. It's almost more of a workshop where I just have and storage where I have tools and my lawnmower and gasoline and my weed eater and my motorcycles and just all this stuff that I just felt like was making it was just too complicated of a space, and I really wanted to make a space that was just for throwing pottery and doing pottery and glazes, and it's really kind of focused my pottery a lot, which and I wanted to show everybody this. Um, so um, I'm gonna go from the front door and show everyone here. How's it look? Okay, everyone can see. Okay. So coming in here, I have space is really important, and as you can see, how many different little shelves I have, um, because when I'm throwing stuff, I just need to, or glazing stuff, I just need to shelf stuff up quite a bit. Can everyone hear me and see okay? This is okay. Great. Um, and so I have these boards to make some shelves real quick and be ready to go to do almost whatever. Um, Here are a bunch of kiln shelves and posts. Um, I have a lot of kiln shelves. Some of the big tile projects I would do would require, God, just layers and layers and layers of kiln shelves. So I have a lot of these high alumina kiln shelves that just last. They're just really quality things. They last a long time. Lots of posts. Um, and this is my kiln. I don't know why I never named it, but it's because it's like a serious friend. It's a Scut 1227, which is the version of kiln that's one ring taller than the kiln at Arbutus, and I just find having a lot of space to fit either shelves and shelves of tiles in, or the bigger pots just makes a kiln like that good for me. One thing I wanted to show everyone here is these are kind of cool. Um, I've been taking these containers like this because they changed the recycling and you can't recycle these anymore. So I use this stuff, and I was kind of, yeah, you're supposed to throw them away. And I was like, wow, like, so I've been working on recycling clay in them. And this might be a neat thing for Arbutus to make happen when it gets going. But this one is all my like trim clay that I just throw in there and put water on. And there's various, and then I put them after I have the right whatever mint of water and clay in there. I put them under my kiln, and they just sort of warm up and get dry, and then they pop out of these little containers, and they're kind of these really neat little bricks, right? And then what I want to do, and I mean, this is like experiments, but I want to do is bisque fire them first, and then with the tile saw, cut the bottom off so it's flat and nice. And then take a drill and make flower pots out of them. And so I have a bunch of these happening, and I hope it works, because that's like, I think it would be cool. This one is actually a lot of stuff from when I'm throwing, just throwing all the scrap in one of these little buckets, rather than I throw it in my yard, or I throw it in the compost thing, or the trash, or I don't know. Think that's okay? Not bad. No comments?
Actually, if you could keep slicing them, they'd be cool coasters. And if they kept them at bisque, wouldn't they absorb the water? If you had a dripping beer mug on it.
Well, if I bisque fire them and then cut them, and then you can glaze them, however, drill them. Well, you'd want to drill them while they're bisque fired.
Yeah.
And then glaze them, however, and then it'll be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, the coaster idea, I don't know. Maybe you can make some, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This spot, this door here opens up. So if I want to, at some point I may expand where my kiln goes here, so that I can, it's like on a track. So I could open this door and make another spot for kiln or finished work or something like that. But, and then let's see, on this shelf here we have a bunch of bisque fired stuff that have the bottoms are waxed on them. So usually I haven't been using a glaze style where I would wax the bottoms of my stuff, and I've just slowly started using a glaze style and working on a glaze style. Not saying I invented it, but I don't know. A lot of people you see will have a big trash can of one color of glaze, and they'll dunk their whole piece in there. in different ways. I like to have, I'm gonna grab this piece here. I like to have the inside and the lip and around the edge one color. And then I like to have the lower section another color. And as I've been getting into making a lot of surface texture on here, in my throwing, the way I've been glazing isn't really working for me anymore because the glaze, how I'm glazing is going around like this. And so it's making, I don't know, like flannel or plaid. So I have color drama going this way, but I want all the color drama going this way at this point. Does that make sense? So I figured out, and for me, I like to do maybe half of this kiln with one combo and half of it with another combo. I don't like doing the same glaze style over and over, which there's lots of value to that and it's cool and your stuff can be really recognizable that way, but that's just not for me. I like using all different glaze colors, and I like mixing a lot or clearing lots of stuff down or making all types of combinations. And most of them, I have no idea what those will look like at all. And that's kind of the part of the magic for me of all this. So I've started waxing. That's why I've started waxing my bottoms. And one question, I'm noticing that it says chat and then it says two. Are those questions? No. Okay. So, so here's what I did. I'm gonna adjust this. Oh, one thing I want to do is I want to introduce my chair. And like, right, like this chair, hold on. Okay, there. Maybe besides my wheel and my cat, I've had it maybe the longest thing of my life. And I think I found it by the side of the road one day, like 20 years ago. And it just, yeah, it's definitely seen better days. But I've tried out other chairs and I don't sit down much in my life, but this chair is pretty awesome. So I just wanted to show everybody. So you see this tin here, and so the problem I was having is, with some of the bigger pieces of pottery, trying to fit them in a 5-gallon bucket of glaze, and I never needed the depth, I needed the width. And so I got these at Supply for Tractor Supply. It's a little store. I think they're for feeding like cows or something, right? The cow feeding dishes. And so this is filled with glaze. And I've already mixed it up, so I'm gonna just mix it up a little bit. But what's cool about this is I can still get the effects I'm looking at for, but the color drama of the glaze will be going down the height of the pot rather than putting it on the wheel, which I usually do, and I can show that. So I might dip this one more time just to, and this is a really neat kind of bronze color that very metallic. It wouldn't be a glaze you'd want to put on the inside of something, but on the outside it really is cool. So that's why I'm waxing the bottoms of my stuff now. And then in a process here, hold on. In the process of things, that would be almost the computer's on one wheel, so it's pretty nice. So this here is some glaze, and I would glaze. I mean, I could do that one I just dipped like that, but usually what I do is I'll do this. Oh, this one's done already. But I'll take this one. Oh, that one's done too. Sorry, everybody. So I'll take this, say one of these, and do this completely and pretty fast with these, just cheap brushes that hold the glaze. I brought a bunch down to Arbutus for everybody to use. You'll recognize them there, but so I'll do this usually 2 or 3 coats. And then that usually gives like kind of a more marbly look that I appreciate rather than yeah, I don't know. Is that? And then is this interesting to you? Okay. And then, so say I have that done, and then I've done this. And what I would do is I would spin this on the wheel. What was that noise? Scared me. So I'll do this to get the top area. This is a pour bowl, so it has kind of you have to do that a little differently. So I've got this like this here. And then I'll do the top. I try to focus on doing the top lip several times, just so I'm for sure that it's glazed and stuff. So I do a lot of glazing on the wheel. I think that it makes the most sense for me, especially the wider mouth stuff. You know, I really don't appreciate the dumping clay on stuff as much as like real uniform applications. So that's how I do that. Might be a good time for questions if anybody has any questions.
I have a question. Do you have any finished work you can show us?
Yeah.
Trick question. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that could be another one.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
Or if we could take like a commercial intermission and I could run and get some.
That's all right.
I don't know, like I could I can show you. So one thing I do is if I have any mess ups, I use them to apply glazes or to do different work in my studio. So I'll show you some ones. These are all problems. This is like this is like one of my, I call them Willie Nelson bowls because I scratched them this way. And so that's where I kind of was talking about why I've done this new type of glazing. Because this makes sense that all the glaze rotation, when I'm glazing this lends itself to how that looks when it's done, and the glaze really makes it look, accentuates it going this way. Whereas opposed to this, it doesn't work as well. Does that? Yeah. But this one, see how this one has all these little warts on it? Or I don't, warts. What this is some of these raw materials were melting at a lower temperature than they should have. This was kind of a bad batch of clay. And so these were bubbling. The clay was actually bubbling. This would be something you would see if you overfired a piece. This is one of the things you would see if you overfired a piece, where it's just bubbling and blistering. So there was like maybe a whole kiln load of stuff that did that, and they were fine like to use, but I don't like trying to give them to people. This is a neat one where you can see that circular, which I like a lot, and you can't get that by dipping stuff or by dumping glaze on. That same thing. When it's smoother, I think this works out really nicely, but not when it's not when it has like texture like that. And that's, I mean, I don't know if I should close up a lot of these pieces I got here. This is a kiln I just unloaded, and like I'm getting more and more into making that texture on my stuff, mainly because just the overall kind of color drama of, you see how cool that is, like just the different depths of the different depths of color because of those textures are, I think, really cool. I was I was practicing this earlier before the Zoom started, and I'm sorry to do this to everybody, but it's just kind of cool. I mean, okay. So this is how you feel if you're a piece of clay on a wheel. Is that crazy? Does that make you feel dizzy or what? Yeah. I'm sorry, everybody. I was sitting here thinking of what I was going to do and say. And I mean, I could do that. That was pretty awesome. Sorry, but I should apologize. Because, yeah. Okay, so as far as things go, how does that seem, or there's any questions, or oh, you're dizzy. um,
So, Mike, on the shelf, like above your heat gun, you had some glazed pieces that have the drips on them.
Yeah, and that's not really standard for me, but it's kind of, I'm experimenting with this newish style that I'm kind of working on, like how to get that just very intense, like drama down the side rather than.
Yeah, because those are always the pieces I am drawn to when I'm out and I see pieces for sale. But I either have been getting just one big drip, which then looks like it's not intentional, or it doesn't really drip. So that may be something to work on at the next class. But
yeah, it's application. I mean, you know, I've seen people use you know, the plastic bottles with the little spout that you use for dish soap. I've seen people use those to get that drippiness. Some people use, you know, a main coat, and then they'll use another coat that's less.
Yeah.
But, and then they'll use a third one that's even less. So they all kind of move and interact a bunch, and it's just sort of,
should I be experimenting with maybe, you know, not thinning the main bucket, but taking some of the glaze and thinning it before I dip?
So the more you thin it, in general, you're thinning it with water. So what happens is that just makes less material. It makes the pottery soak up more water and then want to accept less materials.
Oh, okay.
And then you're putting less materials on there, and it's getting everything wetter and kind of smearing stuff more. So, you know what I mean? So it's like a little bit that almost might make it less happen.
Okay.
You know?
So
whereas putting
reverse my thing.
And that's I mean, if I was using one specific set type of glazes all the time, like, you know, I'd probably like know exactly what to tell you. But just because I like to use so many different ones, like I just want to find kind of a general rule that's going to help that out.
Okay.
That kind of makes sense a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see how yours turn out. Maybe by the time all this is over and we're back in class, you'll.
Yeah, maybe I'll try to keep these aside and you know, bring them down, or when they're glazed, maybe there'll be another Zoom so I can show some of these specific pieces glazed, so we can sort of reconnect to figure out what happened and why.
Cool.
I know usually on a lot of stuff, like just that transition period is the most, a lot of times the most interesting piece on pottery sometimes, where those colors are colliding and melting together. And so I try to do a little bit of overlayering and heavier layering on the top so it'll go down more, the sides, even more so now, just because so much of what this style is just more down the side of the pot.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm looking for, not so much drips, but that increasing that transition area to make it more dramatic, because that's what I've had pieces where it came up with a wholly third different color that I loved and had fun with. So
and it's part of like looking at that specific piece you like, that you're just like, wow, this is awesome. And then using those same glazes and like, okay, how do I replicate this, but even better and better and better? It's kind of, and I mean, that's specifically why you see, I think, I mean, and this is like, for me, is like ceramics, like the Wooden Boat Show is not this year, but there's been a guy down at the Wooden Boat Show in Olympia since I moved to Olympia, and he's been selling the same color combination of pottery every year except for this year. And I don't know what he's gonna do, but which is like, consistency is awesome. I get it. But so he would be, a professional about those glaze combinations, but everyone's different. Everyone has different, or every glaze has different weights of oxides or different compositions of silicas or frits, or how they're melting, or even the temperature. And then they're combined with another color that's either diminishing what they're going to do or accentuating what they're going to do. I do think that Nicole, who works at Arbutus and is an instructor at Arbutus and works at SPSCC, may have like the more scientific-y answers to this for you, but I don't know. More questions?
I'm not sure I'd understand the science, but that's okay.
I know sometimes that seems like the unfun part, It's like, oh, well, and I got to figure out some different art, or I'll just go surfing or something.
Erica, there is actually, if you're interested, there's this book. It's all about mid-range glazes. This is kind of like for the cone firings that we do at Arbutus. This is great for that, and you can kind of learn how to tweak glaze recipes to get them to do different things. And you don't have to get that into the science to understand it, but it's John Britt. And I believe Nicole actually took a class from him, and that's where she learned a lot of what she knows about glazes.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you, Pamela. Any questions? More questions? No? What time is it? Like, oh, I got 20 minutes.
There was a question from Frankie asking if we could see more of the drip samples that are probably on your shelf. Can you use flux to
yeah.
make it drip more?
Yeah, so here's some the two main ones, and so yeah, that would be kind of the two main ones, and maybe I'll just show kind of how that's done really fast. Um, or at least the way I'm doing this one. And so I'm loading up this brush pretty good. I don't want it to be like sort of just out of control and wild, but I want it to be a little bit. I think this is too much, maybe. I don't know how. So basically, I'm putting this glaze on, and then I'm just kind of adding, and we can do this at the studio pretty easily. So you see what's happening, where it's basically, it's just dripping down the side there. And that interaction, along with usually I don't like this stuff because it just like, it's like, that guy's messy, but I'm kind of liking it a little bit more. But you sort of don't know until you get it out of the kilns. I think on some colors and glaze combinations, it would be totally awesome. And some, it's going to not be awesome, maybe. It's usually how things are. Yeah, how's that? You want another example of it? But it's more than anything just sort of adding too much too fast would be how I would explain doing it.
Thanks, Mike. I always thought it had to be done by dipping, so that's cool.
Well, it can. I mean, I could definitely like dip it and then spin it over really fast. But I think that sometimes what happens when you're doing that is the gravity of you spinning it back over automatically makes it go on one side. And then how you're holding it while it's still right side up, like a lot of times where you've flipped it has way more than the other side, and then then some of it drips down too far and makes it look not as
purposeful.
I don't know, purposeful or organic, or we'll see. Like I mean, just like a couple little drips going down the side just does not look good to me, but stuff like this can look really, really good and neat.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah. Interestingly, I want to, is it cool if I switch to a little throwing demo thing? It's kind of funny. This morning, a friend called me up because his friend, everybody's turning into professional bakers these days. And he was all into sourdough starter. And he wanted a little house, not a house, but a container for his sourdough starter, which, since I'm also a professional baker since a month and a half ago, and I also have my own sourdough starter, I am gonna make sourdough starter houses. Like, he has some kind of idea about how it should be, and from what it sounded like he was interested in, or what would be the best thing, would be basically a cylinder. Yeah, a cylinder. So I was gonna make a couple studies of sourdough starter houses. And one thing I'll show everyone is, it's kind of, here, I'll do it this way. So all the wheels in Arbutus have the bat pins in them, except for, I think, one. And either way is great. What happens with a lot of those bats, as they warp, they start shimmying on the bat pins. And this is probably what people were doing before there were bat pins and wheels with bat pins. But this is kind of sketchy. So this is how I do set my bats, and you can see I have like piles and piles of bats there. And so I don't use those bat pins, but I use those bats for my glazing as well. So putting them on and off of those bat pins would just, it would get crazy, and I think they would warp too much for me. So I wanted to show everybody that. And then also, I work with the heat gun usually, but I think that's gonna be too loud. So I'm grabbing some of my tools I use here. Is that too loud? No? It's kind of too loud for me. I can't think. Okay. So, how about my wheel? Is that too loud? It's like, this is my wheel I've had since, I think, the mid 80s. It's kind of squeaky, but that's okay. So one thing with the pottery is sort of having a rough idea of what you're going to make before you start making it. Either a plate, a bowl, or a cylinder is, I think, a really good idea, because how you're going to set up how the clay is on the bat is going to be kind of if you set the clay up to be a plate and then decide you want to make a vase, it's not really going to work out for you. It's like it's a tough thing. So having that idea before you get started is great. So I am making a cylinder. Is that too close? Um, and a lot of times, like, sorry, I just like, I don't know what I was thinking about. I'm thinking about sourdough starter thing. And I know the one that I have, it always seems like a mess to mix the flour into the jar. So I think that this, a little bit wider opening is going to be a little, what do you all think? It's like the Zoom, like, oh God.
Well, I'll just talk to you for a second so you have somebody to talk to. But I changed from a mason jar because of the same reason, because it was too tall. It was like hard to, stir inside there. And I moved to a wider, you know, jar that has like yeah, anyway, it's shaped a little bit more like that, maybe even squattier than that, but because for the same reason, because it's so much easier to stir. I don't know what other people use, but the mason jar isn't not ideal, other than you can see through it, which is kind of nice because you can see if it's growing.
Yeah.
But you can also peek in.
Oh yeah, I need to use my see-through clay.
How are you gonna make a lid? Are you gonna make a lid, or what kind of top do you think you'll use for that?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna, I mean, this is less of a throwing thing, right? But what I'm gonna do is make this lid, but and I don't know if I'm gonna make some of these for this person, and hopefully they're great, or maybe we can test them or something, and okay, these are great, like these are perfect for this. I think having a smooth as I can on the inside is gonna be a good idea. Just so stuff doesn't get caught up on it or whatever. So I'm gonna call this good, okay? So a lot of times in arbutus, we'll have to cut our stuff off. If things get bigger, we'd leave them on the bats. But this is the way, I take stuff off and switch to another piece of clay in my studio, which you end up with less like clay deformities, maybe less problems. The bottoms can be, I think you can make the bottoms thinner because you're less likely to slice through them or cut them off-centered as you're cutting them off the wheel. But that's a tough situation with when it's so many different students are going through Arbutus. I just wanted to say that for so people kind of, if people are setting up their own little studios or whatever, it'd be good information. I don't know. So a lot of times I use my fettling knife as a measurer to, rather than like, okay, gotta find my calipers, where are they? You know, I'm not making like spacecraft parts. I'm like working on ceramics. So like this is like pretty much, to make a lid, I'd want to make it right around where that little rivet is. So I have this clay, which, I mean, we could make, I mean, this is too much clay for just a little flat lid, but maybe we can make a bigger lid that after it's a little more dry, I can carve it, or, you know, carve a sourdough deity into the handle or something. I don't know. So I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go with that idea. So I'm gonna kind of lift this clay volume upwards. So I will have space to carve that. And this is really similar to the throwing off the hump components other class that I've showed everyone. Because I think knowing this stuff can really help you work on your skills as a potter and stuff. So as a professional baker during COVID-19, this is where I leave my sourdough starter. So that's basically where that little rivet on that knife is. I do probably want to have a little bit more of a so you see this, so this is all solid clay, and then this is a fairly light plate, I guess. But when this is, I have all types of, you know, to carve my little smiling loaf of bread in there, and then whoop, it'll go right on top of there like that. And I may need to I mean, I may want to think this through as I go, but it seems like as a starting prototype for some of these might work out. No? Yes?
Hey, Mike. It is 12 o'clock, and you're wrapping up just in time. I wonder if we want to just let people ask any last questions or
That
anything.
sounds perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Anybody? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask Mike a question if you'd like.
Uh, my question is, does that seem like a right sourdough starter thing?
I think so. Not that I'm an expert either, but it looks like a good size and shape. I don't know. Are there other people on the call who are more sourdough expert?
Frankie might know.
so-
Frankie,
Oh, Xenia is.
The thing is,
I think
I think that Stacy was right in the sense that the hardest thing is to mix when you feed the starter. You know, I always use my chopsticks.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, ah.
Yeah.
I think, well, since it rose so high, sometimes it needs to be kind of wide and tall, without being too tall, of course. So it's kind of like. I think yesterday I read actually about the French technique, and the French actually use very small. It's not the way Americans do. They use very small mason jars, very short ones, and they just feed it a little bit, not at all. Like I really think that a lot of the recipes come from the flour companies that just say, hey, yeah, you have to eat every 12 hours. No, you don't at all. Like, it would be a ruin for all the bakers.
Yeah.
So so I think like wide and sturdy.
wider and lower.
Well, I don't know exactly, like, I don't know exactly what you did right there because I don't see it very well, but well, how it grew at my house, and it just overflowed, and it was a nightmare. And now I put them in the fridge, and they live there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Is that the one? Wait, I was seeing something different.
what?
Is that your sourdough thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
This
I thought it was
the
that.
lid. This is the lid.
Okay. Sorry, I was working.
Oh, you were thinking this was it?
So this is pretty good, actually. Yeah. Maybe a little too high, but it's pretty good.
Let's see. Okay. Well,
Nice.
I don't know if
how
there's
much will it
ever
shrink?
a market where people can look at pottery again. You may see me there with some of these, okay?
I had to run out and go look at my sourdough jar, but I think it's too big. It's too big to show as an example, but I think yours is really great. I think it's great.
Everybody on here got some prototypes that everybody could like, I don't know, like test them.
Yeah.
Test them out. Okay.
No problem.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and hope you're still able to make pottery somewhere, wherever you are. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.